This is the weekly market update for the week of the 22nd of June, and today is the 24th, and I'm coming to you a day earlier because yesterday's breaking news is the House passed the 21st Century Act. What is that about? Well, the 21st Century Act actually, first of all, passed 358 to 32, and that is to help our housing stock. What is it doing? Well, it's eliminating one part of the bill and limits the permanent chassis requirement for manufactured houses. That it that cost associated with what they build for a mobile home and then put it on a foundation, or if they put it in a part, was expensive, and it's to lower the cost of what they're building. Number one. Number two, it's also really in the nuts and bolts of this beginning was a large ban on individual investors buying single family housing. Okay, there were neighborhoods that are buying up single family homes that first time home buyers you're being shut out of. And it went back and forth, back and forth. Long story short, let's say an investment firm or a private equity firm owns over 350 homes. That's the threshold now. They're not, before they're going to force them to sell down to that 350 threshold. Now they can keep it, but they can't add any more. And the cap on that is 350. And also in that provision, they're saying, okay, you can't go buy single family homes because that's what the American dream's about. But if you are going to, let's say, construct rental properties and finance rental properties, that's fine. We'll let you do that. So that was back and forth compromise. Because either way, we need more housing stock, and that actually really helped out. And then another one, which I have to say, now this was from the National Association of Mortgage Brokers. They gave the caveat on what's this and that and the other thing. But what it comes down in a nutshell was the local municipalities to streamline the permitting, processing, and let's say drafting of what type of homes are being built. Because that process alone, depending on the municipality across the U.S. or your local market, is huge. And you know when you see the streets be put in and the curbs and everything, and you go, oh yeah, they're going to build some homes. You don't understand how long it takes where a builder, let's say you're a builder out there, that you have to go in front of the city council. You got to tell them, hey, this is what I'm going to do. This is the streets, and they go back and forth on the streets and the accesses and improvements, and maybe, you've got a new development. A lot of cities go, so you know what? Each one you do, how many homes, you got to have a park. Well, each one you do, let's say you've got, a certain amount of access where you need some parking. And that happens a lot with townhome complexes, but they're still single families, okay? Detached, attached, and so forth, where they go, okay, you've got to have another little area where if people are going to park, they can't park on the street. They got to park in these little offshoots where you're going to have to asphalt it, okay? This whole back and forth, what it comes down to is much gobbledygook, I'm telling you, takes a long time. Well, how long? It could take up to 6 months. It could take up a year. Planning that a year and a half, depending on where you're at. And let's say for the sake of it, so you understand how crucial this is, just to get more housing stock, what if for the sake of it, this happens more in commercial, but let's say residential. You're encroaching on what they consider wetlands, okay? You probably don't even know this. You've heard of carbon credits, right? For environmental carbon, that, for companies have to pay, let's say, emissions. Okay, we'll just say emissions, carbon credits, emissions. Well, guess what? There's also watershed districts have credits too. Well, why would they have that? What if you out there are building this development and you got some wetlands there, okay? And they go, okay, so you're going to put this wetland in, I know, like the state of Minnesota, if you take X amount in a wetland area, you've got to designate double the amount in that development for wetlands, such as you might have like a road that has an offshoot where you have ponding of water, where you got, let's say, ducks or geese or whatever can come there and come down and just kind of, wet themselves, mate in that area, because some of these areas, even off our highways, and you'll have in the highways you are, they have these big areas. All of a sudden, there's no ponding, there's no water. All of a sudden, they develop this big pond area, and guess what? It's for waterfowl. It's for, animals and everything. So this is supposed to speed up the process. It's taking a year and a half. You're building a big development. It could be 1,000 homes. It's taking forever. They're saying, okay, we want it in and out. Let's move the process quicker. And this is on a federal level to reduce these regulations so the local governments don't need to worry about the feds. Now they've got to take care of it in the local market. So that's just huge. Other thing was just big today, and we've talked about it. Taylor, what do we talk about every week? What is always on our agenda?
Oil.
I'm glad you brought up oil.
Yeah.
You know, this memorandum of understanding. Well, guess what's happened today with oil? The Straits open. Today, we haven't seen, we just went under $70 a barrel for oil. Wow. It is down almost 5% today. We're at $69.82, and Brent is at $73.42. It hasn't been that since I think in like the second week of March, right before the war started. And then the president has said, look, some of the oil companies, he said, you know what? You're not passing along that price difference to the local, from the refiners to the local gas stations. We want to make sure you're not pumping up your margin there and having the taxpayer pay this longer than necessary. It should be an immediate, because the contracts are saying, hey, there's a glut, it should pass along. So he's, basically pressuring the big oil producers that we have here in the U.S. to say, hey, if you're holding in some for you, no, you're going to pass it along, and you're going to pass it along quickly. So let's see the next report I have next week where it sits for a gallon of gas. Taylor, mark it down next week. We'll mark today. I saw that now, I don't know if you all feel in there, I'm seeing it 339 right now for unleaded, and it might have, let's say, 10% ethanol in there, a blend. Okay, but it's 339. Let's update next week and see how low that will go.